Out of all the women that he had ever dated, there was one woman who told him straight up, I am not a girlfriend, I am a wife.
Wow.
And he said that for him changed his whole perspective. He was like, well, if you's a wife, what the hell am I? Let me figure that out. And he says, he says, this is a part of a man. This is a part of a man becoming.
Yeah.
Choosing what he's going to become and becoming.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to become a boyfriend? Then fine, become a boyfriend, because you can't become a husband until you've taken that step.
Right.
Either way, it's fine, but take that step and become something. Become something. And that, for a man, that is a big deal. You want men to try and become something.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Nadia.
And it's me, Coach T.
And we are Two Average People.
Yes, we are.
I'm gonna adjust my mic a little bit, y'all. How y'all doing? I hope you guys are checking out our podcast. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of good information up there, y'all. We want to hear from you. We want you to hear from us.
Sure.
So check us out.
Last podcast, I'm sorry, we mentioned a lot of things about anxiety. You can go ahead and check that up right here. It's a really good one. We got a lot of great feedback on that one. Please check it out. Tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Today we're going to talk about provision.
Okay.
All right, that's going to be our topic today.
Money, 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 money.
Ooh, 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 money. That's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, baby, because I often hear men say, you know, I want to be a good provider, right? But I also hear women say, look, I want a man that can provide.
That's probably why you hear a lot of good men say they want to be a provider. Just throwing that out there, you know. Bucket.
Facts.
That's it.
Facts. But the question is, are we only talking about money when we talk about providing, right? When you say, I want a good provider, I want to be a good provider. Are we only talking about money? If not, what does a good provider look like?
Well, here's the thing. I got to say this, and I made a joke about it, but it's kind of real, right? So if you gave most men the option, most men would probably live in what would be equivalent to a cardboard box with just enough as they need to go about their business. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And it's because of women and, you know, what women require, why some of these men go after the things that they go after. And that's pretty much the extent of it. So who are we talking about when you're asking your question?
Well, I mean... Okay, I know what a good provider looks like for me.
All right.
But as a man, what does a good provider look like for you?
Oh,
I know what you're saying is you would probably live pretty minimal if it was up to you. I mean, probably more than a cardboard box.
More than a cardboard box. I'm just being facetious. Your point. But the point is, would I live in a 6-bedroom house? No, I wouldn't see the need.
Right.
I wouldn't
Facts.
see the point.
Right.
You know?
I understand that. So I know what a good provider looks like for me as a woman, and I'll talk about that more. But for you as a man, when you say you want to be able to be in a position to provide for your wife, for your children, for your family, what does that look like? What does that mean?
I got to be honest with you. I learned this early on in our marriage, and you taught me this lesson very directly. My initial thought process of what a provider was or is a person, particularly the man in the relationship, making enough money financially to support everything that the house wants and or needs.
Okay.
Maybe not necessarily, like, I don't think it's my job as the man to provide glamour.
Okay.
However, it is to provide resources.
Right. Okay.
So it's one of those things where, from a perspective of being a provider, my initial thought process was it's all about the money.
Right.
And I still hold that thought process to this day, except the all about part is the part that I've edited. It's not all about it. So the lesson that you taught me one day was that, well, I think it was in the old house. She used to live in a house where you know how you lock, you turn the little lock on your door, and up and down is usually, you know, locked for most people. For her house, it was unlocked. That means unlocked. And sideways, horizontally, was locked. took me a while to get used to that when we bought our house and had the same similar type of door. And we were discussing it one day because I kept leaving the door unlocked. The deadbolt was deadbolted, I guess, but the actual door was unlocked. And her thought process was, providing for me isn't just financially, it's also providing the safety that I need physically. It's also providing the mental cushions that I need so I can mentally feel, good in this place. It's also providing for her spiritual needs and, any other needs that she may have, but those being like the main ones. Without those, you're not really providing everything just yet.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Like for as a woman, it's more than just money, right? Obviously money is an important thing, and then we're not going to act like, I'm not going to act like, yeah, I don't need my man to provide any money whatsoever, right?
Right.
Obviously, you have needs, you want to live and enjoy the beautiful things of life. However, it's more than just money.
I agree.
Like he said, I need him to provide a sense of security. And the security isn't to make me feel secure with myself. Only I can do that, right? You can't expect, that's too much of a burden to bear for somebody to make you feel secure with your own self. The security comes from a place of knowing that I can be open, right? And that vulnerability will be protected, essentially, right? So that there's that physical security, yes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so I don't need him going around beating up every dude that looks at me weird, right? That's not what I'm talking about, but knowing that, you're doing the things to keep our house safe, and know that mental and emotional security is important as well.
Yeah.
You're right, babe.
Yeah. So from a provider's perspective, that's what I see as a provider now. Somebody who can provide on all of those aspects at a nominal amount.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, we'll confide in each other at our vulnerable moments. And, part of that provision comes from protecting that. Like, I don't need you to come back and throw it in my face later.
Right.
I don't need you to, bring it up in a fight, because that to me is not providing. That's another way that you would not provide that security that I'm talking about. And not that, not that he does that. I'm just saying, as an example of
the truth
protecting the security of, what I find important, our relationship.
The truth is, I think this is something that we do as people, and a lot of forgiveness probably needs to be levied at this time. But at the same time, you got to be able to be cognizant and recognize it when you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oftentimes, I'm going to bring up this example because I think it's something that I hear often from young couples, or even not young as an age, but couples who are young together trying to build a relationship or a marriage, if they choose to. But you'll hear the man say, I'm not really ready to settle down because I'm trying to get myself together to, because I want to be able to provide this life that she wants, that I know that she's going to want, or that she's expressed that she wants. And oftentimes the woman is left feeling confused because for us, a lot of the time it's, but I don't need you to be all the way there yet before we get married. Like, why do you feel like you have to be all the way established and figured out before we get married? We can work on this together. Right. So, I know from, and I'm not going to say I relate to this directly because, like we've been married for 12 years, been together a lot longer, but just hearing from other women, it feels like an excuse to not actually want to settle down and be married. And so that's from our side, it feels like an excuse. But I'd love to know, where you think the men are in that particular scenario.
In that particular, in scenarios like those, especially when it comes to "can I get this ring already" type of energy, you feel me? It for men, it comes across like this. Like, okay, first off, and I said this before, but sometimes in relationships, we deal with the avatar of the person we're talking to and or in a relationship with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning we're not necessarily dealing with them as an individual person.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with them as the thing we think they are in our heads. And so we're interacting with that more than we're interacting with you personally.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So let's just break that down a little bit. If I am a man dealing with a woman telling me that, oh, well, we can just work out the money thing together, then I go back in my mental resources and I look at all the other women in my life who are willing to work it out together financially. And then you realize there's not too many of them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So then what he has to do is kind of work past that in and of himself to then kind of deal with you, his partner, on a level that is commensurate with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But while also hearing all the other men who are trying to do that too and failing miserably.
Okay.
Whether they themselves are failing miserably, meaning they just can't get the job done, or dealing with women who was like, yeah, well, I've had enough. I'm out because dude over there can provide now and I gotta wait on you. Mm-hmm. That also happens. You know what I'm saying? But either way, he's now in a position to have to make that move and have to put up or shut up. And a lot of men aren't going to make that kind of put up or shut up move just because you want it. Because at the end of the day, when you don't want it anymore, I'm going to still have to cough up whatever that looks like. What does that look like? In a situation in America where we're at 50 or 60% divorce rates, we're also at 80% of the divorces being initiated by the woman. Which means that if I can't provide, there's an 80% chance that this woman's going to leave me by statistics, by the numbers. That is a very, very hard thing for a man to ignore because men are cost-benefit analysis calculators. That is a hill. And it's a hill that I think is worth it as long as you have the right person with you. But boy, that's why a lot of men kind of recoil at the consideration of marriage, especially when we've known each other for 6 months and you're already talking about wedding dresses and rings and stuff. It's like, okay, so you just too pressed to be in a situation to be married, which means that when stuff gets hard, you're going to be the first one to go, I don't like this no more, and leave 80% of the time. That's scary. That just makes a man go, I don't know, man. I don't know about that one.
I hear you. I think from the woman's side, though, we've known what we wanted for so long. And, he'll be the first to tell you, and anyone that I've talked to that's getting married, I always tell them, the wedding day is 6 hours of your life.
Facts.
The marriage is forever. If you're planning to be married to this person forever, it is forever. Read this book. Go do these things. Anybody, you can ask all my coworkers. I always tell them this because I think your wedding is beautiful, but the marriage is what you're focused on. So I'm not trying. The discussion is more, hey, this is how we're hearing it. This is how we think about it. This is how the men thinking about it. This is how they think about it. So let me clear that up by saying, but for a lot of the women, we know what we want. We've known what we wanted for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so when we get into a relationship with you after being with Joe, Tom, and, whoever, it's like, okay, well, this seems like it's working out. We've been jiving for a while, but so for you, it seems like it's been 6 months. But for us, this has been years and years of really trying to find that person, our person. So, again, not to negate it, but that's on the other side. That's how it is.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I understand that. And the thing is, for men, it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Like, we're not spending our childhood thinking about the one that we're not doing this. Ooh. There's nothing about this that doesn't happen. However, we do get similar feelings. They just come along way later.
Right.
For us, it happens. A lot of men that I talk to it happens after 35. After 35, then they're like, ooh, I need to be, I want to lock something down. This is, even the cats that got money, life without somebody to share it with is not, yeah, that type of energy. But at the same time, for us, it just happens way later.
Okay. So what do you tell the couple who, they're pretty much on the same page about getting married? She's just ready. And he's like, nah, I got some things I need to figure out first. I need to make sure I'm ready and can provide for myself before I can provide for family. What do you say to them?
What I would say is two things. First, for the guy, there's not going to come a point where you're going to feel extremely comfortable with it. That's not really how it works. There's going to come a point when you realize that you are and have built yourself into husband material. So you better show it off to your wife, whoever that is going to be at the time. That's the point. You can't just, I'm a man and I put a ring, therefore I am husband. That's not how it works. And I've heard this said on a clip from I think it was Anthony Oneal. I forget the person he was interviewing, but I'm going to put a link to it in the description because it was spot on. He said, the Bible says that a husband who finds a wife finds a good thing. And for many people, they just assume that means that if you got married, that's a good thing. And the truth is, no, that's not what it says. It says when a husband finds a wife, which means she was already a wife by the time you found her, right? That's a scenario that we've kind of heard in the popular ethos before, right?
Yeah, say it, baby.
Let's go. Let's talk about it. But here's the other thing. And this was the thing in the clip that I was like, mwah, this is great. Here's the thing. He said, in order to recognize that as a wife, when you see it, you'd have to already be a husband looking for a wife. Which means if you're going to find a wife, you have to already
come on, baby,
be a husband. You have to already be there so that when you look at what you're looking at, you know what you're looking at. He said, the person he was interviewing said, out of all the women that he had ever dated, there was one woman who told him straight up, I am not a girlfriend, I am a wife.
Wow.
And he said that for him changed his whole perspective. He was like, well, if you's a wife, what the hell am I? Let me figure that out. And he says, he says, this is a part of a man. This is a part of a man becoming.
Yeah.
Choosing what he's going to become and becoming.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to become a boyfriend? Then fine, become a boyfriend, because you can't become a husband until you've taken that step.
Right.
Either way, it's fine, but take that step and become something. Become something. And that, for a man, that is a big deal. You want men to try and become something.
So you're saying the man is work on becoming a husband. Provision is only a part of that.
Right.
Piece.
And not only a part of it, but a part of it that is
an important part, for sure.
That is important for a wife if you're going to maintain a wife for real.
Right.
If you're gonna have a pet lion and try to make it a vegetarian, you're going to starve the lion. That is what it is. There's no more to that. I believe in vegetarianism, and I'm just going to stand sure that's a lion. He had no business eating no business eating vegetables, fruits and grains and stuff. There's no business.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we have to do is make sure that we feed the need properly. Mm-hmm. And if I'm a husband and I'm trying to find a wife, I have to feed myself good things that a husband is going to need. So that when I look up and I look at this wife, I can evaluate whether she meets my standards for real. And not just, damn, she fine. Yeah. Like, we got to get past that part. Like, if damn, she fine is enough to put a ring on it, bro, you lacking. And you about to get your feelings hurt because the one who's going to jump in there with you ain't the one you want, fam.
Yeah.
The one who's just going to jump in without
wisdom. Yeah.
And the same goes, if a guy's known you for 2 weeks and he's already got 7 rings and lets you pick out the one you want, not saying it can never work. It could definitely. But you haven't given yourself enough information to know for real.
Absolutely. That's so great, baby. Like that's wisdom, y'all. Listen to that. That is so wisdom. I think from the ladies' perspective, what I would say to them is, make sure that discussion is being had, that you're expressing your needs and wants to be a wife, right? You can't let the want of being a wife just let you say, just any guy that comes along, you're like, okay, he's the one, right? Like you gotta really, really look at what you're dealing with, right?
For real.
Because yes, you've been together years, and yes, this and yes, that, but he's also told you what he wants or doesn't want for that matter. Pay attention to that. Okay. And if he's saying that he does want to actually be married to you one day, then that's fine. But you guys need to be working toward that together, right? There's that progress. It may not happen in the time that you want it to happen, but you want him to be ready to be married to you. You really, really do. Okay. So I'm not saying wait forever for him, but make sure that if this is what he says he wants, that you're really holding on to that, but also making sure, helping that relationship move forward to that point of, hopefully being married or whatever it is that you guys talked about. Yeah. So, and if you see that progress isn't happening, then, you may have to reevaluate some things.
And that's okay.
It's
better to reevaluate it early than later.
Yes.
Facts.
Yes.
Factual.
I wrote down some tips for you guys, and I think this is really important. And I feel like you have to, it's important to ask your partner what he or she needs. And so here are some of the questions that you guys can talk about when it comes to provision. The first one is, what do they expect you to contribute financially? You don't have to put a number to it per se, but you got to talk about, hey, do you mind if I make more money than you? Do we need to be making the same? If I do make more money than you, do you expect me to contribute more? Like these you got to talk about.
I think you should. I actually think you should put numbers and percentages on it.
Well, sure, but if that doesn't happen, then what? So I want you to make $100,000 a year. Okay, but what if you get a job that makes 60? Then I don't want you anymore?
Well, that's not what I meant. When I say put numbers on it, I mean, how much do you want each other to contribute to the house?
Got it. I see what you're saying. Like, percentage-wise. Is it a 50-50? Is it a 60-40? Is it,
What does the budget look like? Our total income is this. What does it look like now when we want to split that up into whatever? It's like, does all my money pay the bills and the mortgage, and all your money pay for the luxuries or for the fun stuff? Or do I not see your money at all?
Right.
Is it whatever that arrangement is? Be specific about it. Yeah. Leave the emotions to the side for 1 second. Just lay it all on the table and really see what you have. Because I feel like a lot of times we just don't have that conversation with enough depth.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree. Next question. What do they need you to provide emotionally? Okay, that's a really important one, especially for us women, who we have a lot of emotions, and men do too, but really getting in tune with your emotional needs and discussing it, saying, look, this emotionally, this is what I need, this is what I don't need, and, talking about that. Number 3, what do you need romantically and sexually? Very, very important. And these questions aren't going to be questions you talk about once.
Yeah.
You got to talk about these more than once. So many conversations. Especially like with the first one, when we're talking financially, you have to think, okay, well, what if somebody gets a new job or a promotion? Mm-hmm. Does that change? When you're talking about sexual and romantically, what if there, God forbid, there's some sort of physical altercation that happens? Is that need going to change? You might have, well, obviously you don't expect me to have sex with you this much because, I just had this procedure. I need 2 months to heal. Right. But let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk.
Don't guess.
It doesn't guess. It
no
seems
guesswork.
like, well, no, he doesn't expect. Let's talk.
Let's talk about it because he may.
Number 4, what responsibilities do they need to own regarding the house and family. You know, my love language is acts of service. So, you know, we talk a lot about the things that make me feel loved when it comes to that. And so talk about what you expect. Do you want them to, you know, what do you guys, when it comes to the kids and the family and all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to own the responsibility. But it's still requires you to go over that.
Over that.
You still got to do over that. That's the part.
Yeah. Okay, last one. What do they need from you when it comes to spending time?
That's a big one.
That's a big one, especially if your love language is time, right? Talk about that. You know, if I work 12-hour shifts, so, you know, I got 4 days in there that, you know, I can make stuff happen, but the other 3, I'm gone all day. And so that can affect the nature of how things, so especially if I'm working them all together. So we need to talk about what that looks like.
Yeah.
So those are just some tips to help you guys when it comes to providing. Again, it's more than just money. There's so many things that, you know, you need to provide in your relationship or be willing to provide. And it doesn't mean you're always going to get it right or that you're always going to be able to be in a position to provide all of the things that you guys always talk about. But again, it's about awareness, you know, and when you have the awareness, you can make the effort.
Right.
Right?
Yes. I like that.
All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next podcast. Remember to subscribe, like,
all the good stuff.
All the things.
Ring the bell so you can be notified of our continued videos that we always put up every Monday, 7 o'clock a.m. for your enjoyment. And make sure you check us out on our Instagram page at 2 Average People. If you're not there, go ahead and subscribe to us there. And until then, remember,
we're better together.